Welcome back, everybody, to our Opus XIII review for the Final Fantasy trading card game. We're going to talk about the water cards in the set today, and I'm joined, as always, by Travis Pfeifer. How are you doing?
Hello, Mr. Alex. I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I'm always excited to talk about the element sets, water in particular. I've always loved water as an element, so hopefully it got some good things.
And I think water is just only okay, but...
Yeah.
So let's, with that said, you're going to start us off today.
All right, we're going to the world of Final Fantasy Tactics for Agrias, who is a 5-cost, 9,000 power forward job knight. She has an EX burst. When Agrias enters the field, if you control a job princess, draw one card. When Agrias enters the field, choose one forward opponent controls. If you control card name Ovelia, it loses 7,000 power until the end of the turn. At damage 5, when she enters the field, you may search for one category FFT forward and add it to your hand. That's a lot of ETBs, and if she's coming in at damage 5, you're going to get all three of them. So Agrias is almost universally played with Ovelia. We will have a new Ovelia we'll be talking about later, but because she's a knight, you might be playing the old Anthem Ovelia. As long as Ovelia, the backup's down, she's coming in, you're drawing a card, something's going to lose 7,000 power, and then again, if you're on damage 5, you're going to get to search out a card. It's very, very good, obviously, and honestly, the Opus, I think they're Opus 1 or Opus 2, the very early Opus Agriases, none of those were really great for knights. So I think for a knight's build, this one is going to be your go-to from now on. Unless you found a way and you're using the Opus 7 Legend one that like searches out certain cards. But if you're not using that one, I feel like this is probably going to be the new Agrias you use in knights.
Yeah, and you know what? Like back in the day, all three of these effects each could be a card and you'd play it. Mm-hmm. The fact that it has 9k power instead of like 7k power or 8k power or something. The one thing I'll say is like, because each of these effects could have been its own card, don't be mad if you can't get them all right away, because there's some setup required. You can probably get a princess down pretty easily, but you might not be able to get Ovelia down right away.
Yeah.
Agrias is the Ovelia searcher. So, and if you do play the new Ovelia, she's harder to play than the first one because she's 3 CP instead of 2 CP. So, obviously when you're up and running, this card has tons of value, but if you can play this with a different princess and just draw a card, that's still good value. And then obviously if you have Ovelia, you have a princess, so that means you're going to get 2 of the effects. I think that's really good. And the fact that it searches is crazy. And you don't have to run a full tactics build. You could put Ramza in here or Delita, and then you've got like a search target. And then you're good to go. You don't really have to think about too many search targets because to be honest, it's searching so late. But yeah, good, very good card. And it's crazy that it's a rare. I thought this would be like a hero or something.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Delusory Knight. This is a 4 CP mannequin, 8k power. When he enters the field, you can search for a job mannequin other than water and add it to your hand. So it's a searcher on a forward, which just kind of powers your mannequin game plan of playing lots of mannequins and they get boosted up. It's really good. Like, this is going to be fine for mannequins, I think.
Yeah, awesome effect. And again, the fact that it's not limited to a mannequin forward, but just a job mannequin, even if he's just searching you out a backup and you've already got a full backup line, it's still just CP in your hand to use for something later. So he's solid.
You can go triple element. You go play this into the lightning searcher, into the Shantoto Earth, and then for some reason you were able to do that all because you had the right CP. So I guess it could be kind of messy. But
you know who this is a great target for, Alex, is the X-Death, because he can play 4 or less. So if turn 1 you have this in X-Death in hand, you put down X-Death, you now have a 4-cost body. You've gotten the full value of X-Death, who then searches you whatever backup you want. You could get the lightning one to go into the earth one. Like, he is a great combo for that X-Death to bring down.
That's a very good point. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
All right, next we have Elle from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. He's a 3-cost, 7,000 power forward job warrior. When Elle attacks, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards from your hand. If one or more discarded cards were category FF Brave Exvius, until the end of the turn, Elle gains Elle cannot be blocked, and when Elle deals damage to your opponent, draw 1 card. Now, Alex is the Brave Exvius guy, so I'm going to let him tell you how thematic this card is. But at damage 3, he also gains 2,000 power. So this card is like deck yourself out the deck. You could run this with a bunch of Vikings and you're just drawing cards constantly. The potential is there. In particular, what's interesting is that the discarded card just has to be category FFBE. So it can be backup, forward, monster. If they make summons, you could throw one of those away and he's going to get that effect. I don't know how much Brave Exvius is in the game right now, so I don't know how reliable you'll be able to make that. But the effect is certainly cool. He's going to let you just rip through your deck at record speed. Like I said, you have to watch being able to deck yourself out. And then because if he hits them, which he very likely would because he can't be blocked, you're going to draw another card. So just watch your deck size. But anything that says cannot be blocked, I've always got my eye on it because I've seen how powerful that effect can be.
Yeah, it's just such a mess of like what's going on with all the FFB cards being all over the place, and this being kind of an aggressive effect, but doesn't have like the backup of an aggressive support around it. So I would have loved a stronger when he deals damage ability. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know, this is Nichol's brother, and during the game, you need to stop something from happening, and there's lots of monsters in the way. So your FFBE characters, they hold the line while Elle sneaks around the side, i.e. can't be blocked. And there is an instance in which he gains power during that whole exchange. So there's your damage 3 gain. The whole thing is thematic, very cool for sure. I'm going to try this card out. I don't have high hopes for it though.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's going to get better with time, but for this set specifically, I don't have high hopes for it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, next up we have Oilboyle. Right?
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a Final Fantasy VIII monster. And it's 1 CP. When it enters the field, draw 1 card, then discard 1 card. It becomes a 7k power forward at 3, damage 3. It's not very good. There's other draw 1, discard 1s. Like, this is such a weak effect. It's not good.
Yeah, he's a cool boss fight in 8, so I was again happy to see 8 get some love and get a card for this, but yeah, effect is...
Yeah, no.
All right, speaking of cards that begin with the letter O, we have Ovelia from Final Fantasy Tactics. A little help for our friend Agrias there. 3 cost, backup, job princess. When a category Final Fantasy Tactics forward you control is put from the field into the break zone, draw 1 card. This effect will only trigger once per turn. She has a special ability called Aegis. You pay a simple Ovelia, dull her, choose 1 forward you control. Until the end of the turn, it gains haste, and when this forward is put from the field into the break zone, play this forward from the break zone onto the field dull. So this is our water legend for the set. And man, I gotta admit, this card's a real big disappointment for me. One, we've already got Ovelia's. We have an Ovelia for Knights, so you're not going to use this one in Knights because you want the other one. The fact that she's Princess in Tactics, that's all good. I honestly just find her effects to be strange. So starting with our first effect, I don't know, it's limited to category Tactics forwards. So I wonder why they felt the need to limit that to once per turn. Like, I don't know. To me, that should have been the payoff is, yeah, since you're limiting yourself to this. And Tactics as a category just right now doesn't have a lot of support. It's got basically 3 forwards, Delita, Ramza, and Agrias. So it's kind of weak there. And then the special is just strange to me. So don't get me wrong. Backups that have specials are great because normally those backups are just dead cards. So it's nice when you can turn it into something. It's just a weird combination, like haste. And then if it dies that turn specifically, you can bring it back to life, which is thematic for the Aegis thing. But I think I heard James Lockwood say on the RVA thing, it would have been so much more interesting if it put like an Aegis counter on the forward so that whenever it died, it would then come back. It's so weird that like you give it haste, so you want it to attack this turn and then you want it to die that turn. I don't know. That's just strange to me. Like this card is just kind of weird and a bit of a letdown for me. What do you think?
Yeah, so first of all, I love that Delita is like mean mugging in the background there. That's awesome. Like many of the legends in this set, I read it and I thought it was a hero, or not even, I thought it was a rare or something, because it just doesn't feel like a legend. And it's so weird how so many cards in this set, so many legends in this set don't feel like that. It's undoubtedly powerful. It's just so slow and so much work for a legend. And you know what though? Great, give it to water, because Earth always gets those legends that are hard to work with and are like hyper specific. So you know what? Hey, water. I'm doing the middle finger roll up thing. since you can't see me. Now, I will say a very cool combo here is to, and it's a lot of work, is to play the Opus IV Delita that chooses one of your forwards and one of their forwards of the same cost, and then you break them. So you put Aegis on the forward that you were going to break, and then you play Delita, it breaks that forward, and it hucks them at the other person, and then that forward just comes back because of Aegis.
Yeah.
And if that forward can be FFT, then even better, you draw a card. And then that can be a really big turn. But again, it's so much setup, and that card is so hard to play because you have to have the same cost forward as them. They have to survive. Everything has to stay the same for that to work. Plus, you have to be able to have enough Ovelia copies to use the Aegis.
Right.
It's way too much work. I don't think this card is bad. I just don't think it's very powerful.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, especially for a legend, the legends this set have been weird. And that's why Delete is there. He's like, this is an earth legend effect, right? I read the effect. That's an earth. So that's why I'm here. I was like, oh, no, it's actually water.
Well, it says draw a card on it. So
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Okay, well, next up is Cagnazzo, who is a 2 CP Arcfiend, 4k power from category 4. And this guy's cool. So when a forward other than Cagnazzo enters your field, place 1 water counter on Cagnazzo, remove 3 water counters from Cagnazzo, choose 1 forward, it loses 8,000 power until the end of the turn. So if you play this with Golbez, you play Golbez, and then it brings out a bunch of forwards. You can put a ton of counters on him. And there is a new Golbez, but I feel like there's going to be 2 different Arcfiend decks. There's going to be the new multicolor Golbez Arcfiend deck, and there's going to be the classic Golbez Arcfiend deck. So then the second one is remove 7 water counters from him, all forwards. Your opponent controls lose 10,000 power until the end of turn. I think that's going to be really, really hard to stack up, considering that he has no protection on him. The cool thing is that he can do it right away. So as soon as you achieve one of these amounts of counters, there's no dull symbol. So you really do want to prep him. Because he has no protection like the other Cagnazzos. He's just going to go down real quick. So I do really like him, obviously, an Arcfiend deck where you can play a bunch of Arcfiends and then rack up these counters. I like that the deck has some spot removal and also some potential board clear. Pretty exciting card.
Yeah, he's really cool. He's kind of weak at the 4K power, and it's my least favorite art of the new Archfiends. I don't know. There's just something strange about him in this artwork that I just really don't like. And I'm just a huge fan of the Opus XIII Cagnazzo artwork. I thought that one just looked absolutely gorgeous. And I like the Amano one too. And the 7 counter effect is just kind of weird because it's one of those situations that, don't get me wrong, it's an insanely powerful spell. But if you ever actually got to that point, you've probably already won the game if you actually got enough forwards out and kept him alive long enough to make that even possible. Like, you've already won the game because you have 7+ forwards who are going to go in and knock your enemy out. So it's just kind of like the ultimate stamp of victory is like, before you go out, here, I'm wiping your board too. But the three counter one is very good on its own. So yeah, I like him. He's cool.
It's a win more.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Right. Next is our final Cascade card. This is Sage, job standard unit. He's a backup from Explorers. He's a 3-cost water backup. And then when he enters the field, he's going to reveal Earth or Lightning. You'll put it in your hand, and then you'll shuffle the others, put them on the bottom of the deck. And yeah, that's all our Cascade cards. He's at the same picture yearbook day. He's got the little town in the background. These guys all showed up for the same thing, and they all do the same thing, and they're all solid.
You know, normally you see like scholars and sages with books. And I want to say this book doesn't even look appropriately sized for him. Like, honestly,
yeah,
it's just what even is going on here. Next up, we've got Sara, which is a 4 CP princess. It's a backup category 3. When she enters the field, you can search for a job king, prince, or princess and add it to your hand. So this is really good in that Agrias Ovelia deck because you can search for Ovelia a backup directly, but you can also search for princes and kings. You can, I mean, it's just like being able to search so many different elements, being able to search backups. It's really, really powerful, and I guess it could clash with this clash with the Warrior of Light, but they don't go in the same deck anyway, right? So yeah, so you're good to go.
Technically the same character, but yeah, they're different. Love the Amano artwork here. And this is basically Nordstalin. I actually, when I first saw this, I was kind of like, princess, who really uses princes or princesses? But again, it can search so many backups, and it's something that will only get stronger as the game goes on because they're going to print more kings, and that's just so versatile. Kings, princes, or princesses. Like there's some neat stuff I've already seen that you can search for this, and the change she brings out. And as Norshtal improved, I mean, Norshtal basically became Wind Earth the setup. So I think this card's going to be a beast.
Now, does this not go right into your Water Earth Final Fantasy 15?
Does it? Who does it search out in it? Oh, it searches out Noctis and Regis.
It searches out 2 different targets in your deck, and it's a water backup. Because it wasn't the problem that there wasn't enough water cards for that deck.
Well, there was. So what I did to fix that was I put Tyro down and the Moogle who's lightning but could tap for water. So I don't know. That might be tricky to have someone who's water herself, but you're not wrong. And there's a Noctis backup too, so that's just a cheap Earth backup. There's the king. Yeah. She's got some pretty awesome targets. That's a good idea. I may have to try that out.
Okay, cool.
All right. From Sara to Simon. Sounds like it should be a song title or a rock band. So Simon is a 2 CP backup, job bishop. Final Fantasy Tactics, and he's very simple. He says, dull him, put him into the break zone, choose a category Final Fantasy Tactic card in your break zone, add it to your hand. Very important that it says card too, because we got some Tactics summons this set, like the Bahamut was from Tactics. So anything that just has category tactics on it, he can pull back. So to me, he seems like a no-brainer inclusion for a Tactics deck. Again, I don't know if that deck really is there yet or exists just because it has so much name clash, and we've gotten more name clash this set, but his potential is obviously there. He's super cheap. His effect is super cheap. You get back any card. That's really good.
Yeah, this is super awesome recursion, and it's one extra layer of depth into your Ovelia Aegis Delita Opus 4 combo, where now you've pitched your Ovelia and you can't use the special, so now you have to break a backup to get the special to use on a forward to hit with Delita so that can hit another forward so that you can do the whole combo. So you're welcome. Give us a Gafgarian card. What the heck?
Yeah, well, that's the weird thing. There's so many Tactics characters they haven't even touched yet, but they seem to like, nah, we're just gonna make the same 3 over and over again.
Well, we did get 3 new ones, and
True.
I was talking to my brother, who's the biggest Tactics fan I know, and I'm like, they got Simon, but not Gafgarian, and he told me, you know what, Simon's pretty big. He helps you later on in the story. Yeah. He's got as much airtime as Gafgarian does, or a comparable amount. So I'm like, okay, fine, I can see that, but we still need a Gafgarian card.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next up is Tonogiri, which is a 4 CP forward, 8k power, type 0 job warrior, which is always good. When Tonogiri forms a party and attacks, choose one forward, return it to its owner's hand. So it's your party attack forward, and it's searchable because it's a warrior. So, but the problem is, you got to have the whole party attack and multi-element part of that, which I don't think you have in a mono water party. It's just, I don't think you're gonna have the warrior searcher with this, but. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a good addition to the party attack deck. I don't know where the party attack deck is, because I haven't played it in a while.
I love his outfit. He looks really cool. I love his he kind of reminds me of Ghost of Tsushima. He's got this cool samurai armor. I think he's terrible. If this card just read when he attacks, bounce a forward, that would still be because again, bouncing is currently the worst form of removal in the game. He has to form a party to bounce. What? Yeah,
it's really slow.
Yeah, that's nuts.
You'd imagine that on a 2 CP really weak card that had some sort of ETB or something, and then you'd be like, okay, now I can get through with these little guys. But he's actually pretty strong, so yeah, what can you do?
So, moving back to Brave Exvius, we have Nichol. Nichol is a 2-cost, 5,000 power forward job tactician. Excuse me. The multi-element forwards you control gain 1,000 power. When a multi-element forward enters your field, draw 1 card. This effect will trigger only once per turn. Again, they just really want Brave Exvius to be this multi-element deck, and maybe there's something here I'm not seeing, but I don't know. I loved the Opus 8 Nichol. He was kind of meant for mono water, but he was still so cool. Yeah, I don't know. Again, if multi-element Brave Exvius becomes a thing, this card seems like he's just going to be great. He's an Anthem. He's going to draw you probably multiple cards. But beyond that, it's just hard to see where this goes.
I don't know. Anthems on forwards are not very strong. On weak forwards are not that strong. When you have something like Lise that can power everybody up and do something herself, that's different. But Nichol's not going to do much on his own. And it's a slow effect. Multi-element cards also are overpowered, like not overpowered. They have above curve powers. So multi-element forwards often don't need an Anthem. So I don't like this card very much at all, to be honest. But if you're able to play a lot of multi-element forwards, which again, you can't do that easily because you have to have all these different elements. And you could draw a bunch of cards, then yeah, that could be pretty good. But I think it's a lot of setup on a forward that's so vulnerable. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one. Okay, we got a new Viking. It's a 2 CP standard unit, 4K power. When he enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, play one card named Viking of cost 3 or less among them onto the field, and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. So obviously, when you read this, it's one of those cards where like, wow, I can just find that Viking and play it. That's incredible. And it is, but it's so hard to do if you only have 3 copies of it. So that means you have to run the 2 and the 1 CP copies. And those ones aren't so good. Yeah. So this card isn't so good.
It's not very good. I think this is our strongest Viking to date as far as power level goes, because he's got 4,000, and I think he might be the strongest one. And you know, if you want to live the dream, you have Layla bring this guy in. He reveals another copy of himself, which hits the field, which then reveals another copy of himself, which hits the field, which then reveals the 3 CP Viking, which hits the field and lets you draw a card. But that's so unreliable. And Layla Viking is such a classic combo at this point. That's just reliable. Why would you ever trade away that reliability for something that could completely whiff? Like you said, if he's your only Viking, like good luck hitting those other ones. I don't know. Maybe if there's a day where like so many Vikings are out there that this guy's guaranteed to hit. I don't like him at all. Like Layla Viking, if you're going to try to do something that makes me want to play a different Viking over that combo, it's got to be just the bee's knees, and this guy is not.
So that scenario that you just outlined where you hit all of them in a row, guess what? You also had a Cagnazzo out, and he's got a bunch of water counters on him now.
Yep, exactly. See, there you go. There's the play.
Yeah, simple as that. Would you play this if it was a 2 CP backup, same effect?
Ooh. Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
I wouldn't even be that mad to not get the effect.
Yeah, if it was a backup, that would be very different.
Because at least you got the 2 CP backup, and then now you can
exactly. Yeah, you would have gotten something out of it. Whereas this, if it whiffs, you just did nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, next it's my turn. Yeah, next we have Lady Fina from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. This time she has a job Blue Mage. She's a 2-cost backup. When Fina enters the field, choose one forward opponent controls. If you control a category Final Fantasy Brave Exvius forward, return it to its owner's hand. The Wind Legend Fina from Opus XIII is one of the gold standard cards for anything Fina related. So name clashes there, although that's a different element. It serves an entirely different purpose. I think this could be solid in limited because with all the Brave Exvius in the set, I think it'd be really easy to get that effect off. Again, bouncing's just so in the first place because if they have an ETB, they probably are more than happy to replay it. So, I mean, it's a cheap backup, which is always great, but I don't know if you really want to be using this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good effect on a 2 CP backup. Like that's the best cost for bounce that we've had, and you get a backup. And then otherwise you're just playing a backup that's 2 CP. Like it's not going to hurt your curve at all. It's going to count as an FFBE for future things. Like I kind of like it. I'm going to try it out. I think bouncing is really risky. You could bounce a Behemoth K with this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Although, because it's a backup, so you could safely bounce it.
Yeah.
If they have a target that's not going to benefit from re-entering, I think this card's actually really good. But again, bouncing's just kind of.
Yeah, it's tough. It's all about super bouncing these days.
Yeah, super bouncing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So next up is Yuke, which is a standard unit forward, 7k FFCC. When it enters the field, if you pay with fire, you can deal 4k to a forward. But if you pay with Earth, then you can choose a character in your break zone and put it in your hand, which is a good effect. And Water Earth is definitely an element pairing that happens. Still don't like it because again, recursion is not something that's hard to come by these days. So yeah, at the end of the day, and what's up with the like pointy bra thing?
Yeah, weird. And the hammer. That is like a curved hammer, which feels like it wouldn't be very good for striking. Like if you've
I
got
think
a
it might
hammer
be a
that...
staff. I think this is a casting Yuke.
Oh, is it? Okay, maybe it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
all the other standard units of this, like it's just maybe solid and limited, but you're never going to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
All right. So a card that has a lot of buzz about it, and I'm in that group as well, is Leviathan. He is a 2 CP EX Burst summon from Final Fantasy Explorers. His EX Burst effect: choose one forward. During this turn, the next damage dealt to it is reduced by 5,000 instead. Draw one card. If you have received 5 points of damage or more, all the forwards you all control also gain. This forward cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities until the end of the turn. This card is great, and he's great for a few reasons. One is simply the effect itself. Is that 5,000 damage reduction is huge. They're going to survive whatever they're throwing at you, and you get to draw a card. So even if they weren't able to survive, at its worst, this card is just going to draw you something. On an EX burst, you're just drawing a card. Fantastic. And what makes this so good is that compared to all these other ones, like all the other ones felt like they were tuned around the damage 5. Like you had to be at damage 5 to make it worthwhile. Again, this initial effect is really strong already, and then the damage 5 just makes it crazy good. If anyone who's played against an Unsaganashi knows, anything that just says, yeah, my whole board, it's just protected now. Have fun. This card's great. The artwork looks so cool. It's so nice to have a different Leviathan who just kind of does something unique, and I cannot wait to try it out.
Yeah, they costed it appropriately. All the other cards were like 5 CP, and then you have to get the reduction. Of course, that's not going to see play. This is 2 CP, so it's automatically within the realm. I guess there were some 1 CP ones, but those ones sucked. Yeah, if this one didn't have draw a card, then we might be saying something different about it. But the fact that they pushed it and put that draw card on there, good to go. This is a nice card.
Absolutely.
Okay, next up we've got Luka, which is Nichol's sister and Elle's sister. So we've got the trio here. So 3 CP backup, Cirrus, Job, and then FFBE category. The FFBE forwards you control gain 1,000 power. It's a FFBE anthem, and it wasn't, they're scared of FFBE, so they didn't cost her at 2. They costed her at 3, which is fine. That's what most of the anthems are costed at, so that's all good. Really like the artwork on here. Not much else to say besides it's just good to have one of these in the game.
Yeah, I don't know how great it'll be right now, but again, in the future, as we get more FFBE stuff, I love anthems. I'm such a big anthem homer, so I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what? I guess, it's in the wrong element, but there's some FFPE cards I can think of that would be nice to get a little boost to. Or even like Citra, if you're playing a mono water and like your Citra's 8K or, Reagan's 9K or something, or like there's some things. Okay, cool. Let's bring it home.
All right, we have Lady Refia from Final Fantasy III. She is a 2-cost backup, Job, Warrior of Light, of course. And she reads, pay 1 of any element and dull Refia. Choose a Job standard unit forward or Job Warrior of Light forward you control and activate it. Probably my least favorite of the 4 that we got between her, Arc, Ingus, and Lunith. She has, to me, just the weakest effect. Like, just activating a forward. I mean, I don't know, maybe if you're facing a mono ice deck and stuff's just getting dulled to oblivion. But even then, the Arc can just prevent things from being chosen in the first place. She by far has the weakest effect, and having to pay 1 CP for it on top as well. Like having to pay 1 CP and dull her, so essentially 2 CP, and it can only target Warrior of Lights or standard units. And then she's Refia, so she competes with the Light Refia, so she's the only one that can't be brought out by the Light Refia because of the name clash. And then she also, the Water Refia, some people still use that in Warrior of Light builds with it to give Ferris triggers. So bad name clash, and just I think the weakest of the 4 that we got this opus.
Agreed. Okay, so that's it. We've seen all of the water cards, and now we need to give our opinion on the group of them as a whole.
All right, man. Water's? I don't know. Water's hard to judge. There's some stuff here that I think is really good, and some stuff I think isn't so good. Like some of it's just so throwaway, but like the Sara has potential as a truly game-changing backup that you'll see everywhere. The Cecil Delusory Knight is such a huge play off of X-Death. Cagnazzo is interesting, at least. The Leviathan's really exciting, but like the Refia's a snoozer. The Yuke's a snoozer. Simon's really cool. Oilboyle's not cool at all. Ovelia is such a lame legend. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place with water. And just as I look at it all, I feel like, oh, help me. I'm drowning.
I think just like a couple of great cards, like the Agrias is such a nice boost for like a Knight's deck. And like you said, the Leviathan's pretty interesting. But overall, lots of cards that are either a little slower or not great, or some cards we're just not ready for, like Elle, Nichol, and Fina, and Luka. Like those are all cards we're probably not ready for yet, but are building a foundation to a future FFBE dominance.
Yeah, true. Yeah, maybe there'll be a day that this was the start of its rise to prominence, though.
It's just begun. So that's my thoughts.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me, Travis. And all of you will be able to check out Travis's YouTube channel down in the description. I'll put the link there for you to click on and go subscribe to him and watch his content. And then otherwise, thank you guys all for watching. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good. We got one more to go. We'll see you then.